Hi everyone, my name is Andy White and I'm going to try and give an overview of MEDDPICC in under 10 minutes. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so the first part of MEDDPICC is the metrics. Now these are the quantifiable measures of value in which your solution provides for your customers. They could be things like increases in revenue, increase in efficiency via percentage or monetary values. Now early in your opportunity, you are unlikely to have uncovered rock solid metrics for your customers. So what you need to do is look to your existing customers and bring in the metrics of success they've had, the proof points of success that they've had into your deal as early as possible. This will do two things. The first is it will act as social proofing to prove that you've delivered value for other customers. Secondly, it will open up the customer's mind into thinking about understanding the kind of value you have. This will lead to a much more productive discovery session where you can uncover your customers' needs, goals, challenges, and then start to really mold those into metrics that they can use to build their business case hand in hand with you. The next part of MEDDPICC is the economic buyer. This person is the overall authority in your deal. They're who the budget will roll up to. They have the power to say yes when others say no, and no when others say yes. They generally will have discretionary use of funds and be able to create their own budgets. And when you talk to them, they'll talk in the language of business. If you imagine how their annual report reads, that's how they like to talk. They're likely to have profit and loss responsibilities. And here's the thing, the economic buyer has the single biggest impact on the time it's going to take you to close your deal, the size of the deal, and your risk to your forecast. Put simply, you cannot sell to somebody who can't buy. You can sell to the economic buyer, and you absolutely have to be engaged with them in your deal. Okay, the next part of MEDDPICC is the decision criteria. This is the criteria in which the customer is going to make their decision. It sounds much easier than it is. It breaks into three parts. The first is the technical criteria. This fundamentally is, can your solution do what your customer needs it to do technically? But not just that, it's also going to come under infrastructure criteria, security criteria, interface criteria, integrations criteria, all that kind of stuff will come under the technical criteria. Next up is the economic criteria. This is really around business case. Does the solution give enough value? Does the ROI stack up? Is the business case strong enough? But it's not just about money. Resources count as well. Is your solution going to take a lot of resource to implement? And if so, does the business case support it to be at the top of the priorities list? Third, relationship. This is really about you. Does the customer want to work with you? Do you feel like a good partner to them? Not just that though, what about your roadmap, your trajectory as a company? How strong are you in their industry? Do you work with their other partners? All that kind of stuff. Now, different people in the decision process will have different decision criteria, so you've got to really map your stakeholders and understand what their criteria is. This gets harder as well because customers don't generally have a decision criteria written out unless it's like an RFP. Sometimes that helps. But generally, especially if you generated the opportunity yourself, there won't be a decision criteria. That means it's your job to create the decision criteria. At the very least, you have to influence it towards you. The next part of MEDDPICC is the decision process. This is the process in which the customer is going to go through so they can make a decision. Who are the people involved and what are the processes those people will go through in order to evaluate, select and purchase your solution? Generally breaks into two parts. The first is the validation phase. This is when they're checking through the highest priority requirements the solution needs to have just to make sure everything works as promised, basically. Checking against the decision criteria in most cases. The second part is the approval stage. This is the sequence of events that need to happen in order to get your deal signed. Okay, the next part of MEDDPICC is the paper process. These are the series of steps and actions that are ahead of you getting your contract signed. Now, a lot of organizations will roll the P inside of the decision process and just simply call it MEDDIC. But a lot of organizations today are breaking it out and having MEDDPICC, and the reason for that is quite simple. The paper process is the single biggest cause for forecasted deals slipping, where unforeseen things happen and cause a deal to slip a week, a month, whatever it may be. That's a big, big problem. So it's really, really, really valuable to have great insight about what could happen, what could go wrong are people going on maternity leave, paternity leave, on holiday? Any kind of things can happen. They're generally unexpected. So what things could impact the timeline of your deal? Making sure you're ahead of those and on top of them is really, really important. Okay, strap yourself in, because this is an important one. In fact, for me, it's the most important of all of MEDDPICC. It is, of course, implicate the pain. Now, the pain is a problem which your customers have inside of their business, which is so big that they have to find a solution to solve it. Now, those astute amongst you, the MEDDPICC practitioners, will be wondering, hang on a minute, I thought that the I in MEDDPICC stood for identify the pain. Well, it kind of does. For me, there's 3 I's in MEDDPICC. The first is identify the pain. And what this means is that you identify the pain. It's really simple. In fact, even bad sellers can identify the pain. And what they normally will do, they'll identify the pain, get excited, and jump straight into their slide deck of 30, 40, 50 slides to talk about how they can solve the pain for the customers. Now, that's bad, and well, you're watching this video, so I don't need to tell you why that's bad, but it's not a good thing to do. Now, what most salespeople do, and what good sellers do now, is that they indicate the pain. What that means is they identify the pain, and then they indicate to the customer how much it's costing them. What is the pain? What is the quantification of it? Is it lost revenue? Is it inefficient operations? And they generally will do that in an ROI document, a business case, a proposal of sorts. And, it works. It helps, build the business case does help. But what elite sellers do, and what elite sellers know, is that pain is a mindset. They know that they have to find some pain and dig deeper and deeper via great discovery and open-ended discovery questions to really surface up that pain so that the customer feels it so much inside of them that they absolutely have to solve it now, if not sooner. And the elite sellers do that because they know that with no pain, there is no problem. And if there's no problem, there's no urgency. If there's no urgency, there's no executive sponsor. And if there's no executive sponsor, there's no budget. And if there's no budget, there is no deal. And if there is no deal, what are you doing here? Okay, the 7th part of MEDDPICC is the champion. Now, the champion is probably the most commonly used phrase in sales. Unfortunately, I think it's the most misused phrase, and by that I mean is to have a real champion, a true champion, they have to meet 3 criteria. The first of those is they have to have power and influence. They have to have credibility. When they speak, others take notice. And that's important because the second criteria is they need to be selling internally for you. You can't always be there, and there'll be times when they need to stick up for you or talk about your benefits when you can't be there. The third is that they need to have a vested interest in your success. Basically, if you win, they win. So this can look like things like monetary rewards. You might help them hit their bonus. It might be a new skill that by working with you they get. It might be a promotion. Whatever it is, they have to have some sort of shared success with you. Now, it's not just you that has a champion. Your competitor is likely to have a champion as well. And it can't be the same as your champion, because then it wouldn't be a champion. So what you need to figure out is whose champion is stronger and set your champion up for success to beat your competition's champion. My favorite phrase around champions comes from the folks at Sales MEDDIC Group, who say, no champion, no deal. Big champion, big deal. The final part of MEDDPICC is the competition. Now, the competition is commonly misunderstood in MEDDPICC. People think about the competition as just being your rival solution, a solution that's the same as what you do, just a bit differently. But in fact, the competition is any individual, initiative, or vendor that is competing for the same resources or budget as you are. So this could be a CIO who is trying to build your solution internally, or just come up with a solution to get by so they don't have to invest in your solution. It could be another solution. It could be one of the thousands of other solutions that are out there that all provide a positive ROI to the organization. It could be inertia, which is, my least favorite of them all, because that's the one that really means you're not qualified well enough, which obviously MEDDIC really, really helps with. So there's all kinds of different things that competition could be, and it's your job as the seller to get on top of who it is. Once you identify who the possible competitors are, you need to come up with a plan. The plan I think works best is to do a SWOT analysis. Think about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and get on the front foot. So often sellers get themselves on the back foot because they wait too long to think about the competition, how they can be ahead. And by the way, most important thing about all of this, never knock the competition. Always focus on your strengths, your benefits, your unique differentiators. And if you must lay traps, make it around your unique benefits. Don't talk bad about the competition. Customers hate it, and it very, very rarely gets you on the front foot. So there you have it, an overview of MEDDPICC in maybe over 10 minutes. I don't know, because I haven't edited it yet. But if you enjoyed this, then please hit the like button. It really, really helps. And also, if you can, hit the subscribe button too, so I can bring you more great content like this. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.